it's Jessica here. We're going to do a little bit of yoga today to get you moving and stretching and flowing. I had a request to do a class around moon salutations, so that's what we're going to work on today. They're actually a little more complicated than one might think, so we're going to start by doing a little bit of a grounding and warm-up. We're going to do some of the pieces of the moon salutation and kind of talk through what those positions should feel like and modifications for that. And then once we do that, we'll do the flow of the moon salutation very slowly once through, and then a couple times a little bit faster. So if you've ever been in a class with me, you might remember that to me it's much more important that you feel comfortable in your body and safe in your body than any specific position that you're in. So if something does not feel good, please do something else. So if it causes sharp pain, do not do it at all. If it's a challenge, it's up to you. You might do a modification, you might just take a break then, and that's absolutely okay too. So with that in mind, we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start by getting nice and grounded. So sit tall through your spine. You might sit up on a blanket. So I have a blanket back behind me that just the back part of my seat is on. It gives me a little bit of a tilt to make me a little more comfortable. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Get a little space through your chest. And tuck your chin just a little bit to lengthen through the back of your spine. From here, you're welcome to either close your eyes or gaze down at the floor, whatever is more comfortable for you. Begin to find your seat. So notice the connection between your body and the floor. Bring your attention to the rest of your body, noticing how it feels today. So you might notice if there's any places where you're holding tension. With every exhale, see if you can release that tension a little bit. Become aware of your breath. So notice the rise and fall of your belly and chest. Notice the air moving in and out of your nostrils. And notice the pace of your breath. So how quickly or slowly are you breathing? If you would like, you might begin to lengthen your exhale to invite your body to relax a little bit more. Take about 3 more breaths just like this. After your 3rd breath, begin to gently flutter your eyes open if they're closed and come back to the room. Start by doing a little warm-up for our neck and our shoulders. So you can start by dropping your chin down towards your chest, lengthen through the back of your neck. Take a breath or 2 here. Your next inhale, slowly bring your gaze up towards the ceiling and pause. And then exhale, tuck your chin back into your chest. Take a breath or two here. You might even very gently move your chin from side to side. Come back to center. Inhale, look up. Pull your shoulder blades together, open through your chest. Exhale back down one more time. Tuck your chin into your chest, lengthen through the back of your neck. Inhale, lift up, look up. And then come back to center. If you would like, you might repeat that, or you might begin to make circles with your neck. Keep everything slow and gentle. You might notice some places of tension. You can always pause in any place if that helps stretch out some of that tension. And bring your head to the back. Make sure you keep your neck supported so you're not falling all the way back like a pest dispenser. Just giving a gentle throat opening sensation. Go ahead and switch directions. You might notice if anything feels different in the second direction. It usually does for me. There's a couple places that feel a little bit different, maybe a little stickier. One more circle. And then back to center. Take a nice deep cleansing breath in. Exhale it out. So you inhale, stretch your arms out to the side, stop it parallel to the floor. Bring your right arm all the way across your chest. You can hold onto your arm with your hand or hook it with your elbow. And make sure your torso twists back to the center so that you're not leaning over to the side like this. You want to stay centered so that you can get that stretch through your shoulders. Take a couple of breaths here. Don't mind the sounds of the cats making, not knocking things down. When you're ready, open back up, get nice and wide. Maybe bring your fingertips back behind your body, stretch long, and then bring your left arm across. Again, you can hold onto your arm or hook it at your elbow. Keep your torso towards the center. Take a couple of those slow, deep breaths here. Next, inhale, release, open wide, bring those arms back behind you, open through your chest, and then bring your arms back down alongside your body. They can rest your hands gently on your knees if you'd like. Begin to make some circles with your shoulders, bringing them up, back, and down. Your torso can move in any way that works well for you with this. Again, see if you can find any of those places where you're holding tension, and use this to help work it out a little bit. Go ahead and switch that, bringing your shoulders up, back, and down. One more, and back to center. Once again, nice deep cleansing breath in. Long exhale out. Move from this to a tabletop position. So for tabletop, your knees are underneath or just slightly behind your hips, and your wrists are underneath or just slightly in front of your shoulders. If you would like to put a blanket under your knees for a little additional support, absolutely take the time to do that. I'm going to start with a couple rounds of cat and cow. So for cat, pull your belly button up towards your spine, look down towards your knees, arch your back, And exhale, reverse that. Let your belly button fall down to the floor. Look up, tailbone comes up. Repeat those two movements, belly up towards your spine as you round your back like a Halloween cat. And then belly down towards the floor as you look forward. 3 more times. Down to cow, look forward. Arch your back. Inhale, look forward. 1 more. And back to center. Get nice and grounded here. Look forward. Step your right foot up towards your hands. If that takes a couple of steps, that is absolutely fine. This is called Anjaneyasana, and this is something that's going to come back up during your moon salutations. So in this position, you can start with your hands on the floor, and if that's all you can do, that's fine. This is also a place where you might notice more of a need for a blanket under your knee. If you'd like, you could also bring your hands up to your knee, and that could be plenty for you. If you feel stable here, you can shift your weight forward a little bit so that your knee might actually go on beyond your ankle. That's okay for this position. If you feel stable here, you can lift your arms overhead and look up. Take a couple of breaths here. Remember, you can come out of this position at any time. As you exhale, shift your weight back, bring your hands back to the floor, and go ahead and step your right knee back to that tabletop position. That's called Anjaneyasana. Take a nice grounding breath. Exhale it out. We'll move to the other side. Look forward. Take as many steps as you need to get your left foot more or less between your hands. Stay here. You might stay here with your knee over your ankle. If this feels like enough, absolutely stay here. If you would like a little bit more, you might bring your hands up. You could shift your weight forward. You might release your arms up and look up for a back bend. Take a couple of breaths. Engage your core, keep everything nice and stable. When you're ready, exhale, shift your weight back, bring your hands back down to the floor. Find that tabletop position. Take a nice grounding breath in. Exhale it out. We're going to do that same thing again, but we're going to add on a position in between the two that's going to come up again in those moon salutations. So when you're ready, look forward. Take as many steps as you need to get your right foot more or less in between your hands. You can stay here or lift up. Take a breath. Your next exhale, bring your hands down on the inside of your foot. Lift your left knee up. Walk your hands over to the back, and you might find a low lunge or a skandasana. So this might look like this. This is kind of the full expression of this position. For some people, that foot might be lifted up. That's okay. For some people, you might be staying in a more upright position with your hands on the floor. All are good choices. Do what works well for you. Take one more breath here. On your exhale, bring your hands down to the floor. Lift up, walk your hands back to the other side of the mat. Find your variation of the position here. So remember, for some of you it might look like this. For some of you it might look like this. You might be doing more of a shifting your weight and bending your knee and just pausing that way. absolutely fine. So as we come to the other side, we're going to enter into it in a different way so that it's more like our upcoming moon salutations. So instead of coming back to table, we're going to walk our hands back to the left. Bring your right knee down to the floor. And now your left foot should be up in front for the left side of Anjaneyasana. Stay here or rise up, whatever is working for you. Your next exhale, shift your weight back, hands come down to the floor. Let's come back to that tabletop position and take a couple of breaths either in a child's form, knees wide, toes touch, head comes down to the floor, or if that's not a comfortable resting position for you, you're welcome to just take a seat and take a couple of breaths. One more breath. Nice long exhale. We're going to move up towards standing from here. So if you're in child's form, you might come up to tabletop. Tuck your toes under. If you would like to lift up to a downward facing dog, that might feel nice. You choose a downward facing dog. We're just doing this once for a transition. You might bend one knee at a time. Keep working your chest down towards your knees. Look up towards your hands. Take as many steps as you need to come towards the front of the mat. Let your head hang down, get nice and heavy and long. Slight bend in your knee, gently roll all the way up to standing. Take your time to get here. You might roll your shoulders up, back, and down when you arrive. And come to a standing position. We'll take just a moment to get nice and grounded in our standing position. So feet are about hip width apart. You might lift your toes, spread them out, and then place them back down. You might open your chest, roll your shoulders out, shoulder blades together, tuck your chin just a little bit, and find your standing position. Ground down into your feet, get long through the top of your spine. There's a couple more positions that we're going to run through before we move into our actual salutations. So our first one is called Goddess. So for this, we're going to take a nice big step so that we're in the middle of our mat. We're going to turn our toes out towards a 45-degree angle. So it's kind of like pointed towards the corners of your mat. We're going to do this so that when we bend our knees contract towards our toes instead of some other wonky position. From here, lift your arms up. And then bend your elbows, get nice and strong, open through your chest. This is called Goddess. This will again come back later. For now, we're going to use this to do a couple rounds of sunflowers. So go ahead and straighten your legs, lift your arms up, sink back down, fold forward, sweep your fingertips on the floor. Inhale, rise back up. Repeat this 4 more times. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees, sweep your fingertips on the floor. Inhale, rise back up. Exhale down. Inhale up. knees up one more time. Bend your knees, fold, sweep your fingertips on the floor. If that's available, stretch back up. Find that goddess, bend your knees, bend your elbows, get nice and low. Take a couple of breaths. Then come back to standing, release all of that. Come back to your mat, back to that standing position we started with. Take a couple of breaths. Reconnect with yourself. And release. So there's a couple of positions that can be challenging if it's not something you're used to. And we're going to try those out before we add them into our flow. So one is called triangles. Some of you might be familiar with this. So for today's purpose, we're going to have that nice wide standing position. But then we're going to turn our right toes all the way towards the front of the mat, and our back toes are going to come in. So they're not completely angled at a parallel to the back of the mat angle. If you look down at your feet, your heel of your front foot should be about in the middle of your back foot, so it's as if you're standing on a tightrope. From here, you're going to stretch your arms out long. You're going to look over your right hand, lean forward with your right hand, and then bring your hand down to either your leg, perhaps a block, or the floor. Stretch your left arm up towards the ceiling, big stretch. Try to get in one nice long line. You can look up towards your hand if that's available. This is called triangle. For some of you, triangle might be a much shorter stance. Your hand might be on your thigh. You might just do what you can to reach your left hand behind you. This is absolutely fine. If you're feeling sensation, but it's not too much, you're doing it right. If you can, you might work towards that wider stance and work towards getting your hand a little bit lower, either on the leg or on the block or the floor. From here, we're going to transition to a position called pyramid. So to do this, you're going to bring your left hand down, and you're going to scoot your left foot out to the side a little bit and point your toes a little bit more towards the front of the room. You're going to pivot so that your hips come to the front of the mat. You might sit here with your hands on your hips. If you have blocks available, you're welcome to use blocks under your hands. Or you can bring your hands all the way down to the floor. So again, it might look like this for some of you, the nice wide stance. Some of you might have a much shorter stance, and you might keep your hands on your hips and fold just a little bit. Whatever you're in on your next inhale, rise all the way up. Pivot back to the front, step together, shake it out a little bit. So that's triangle and pyramid. We're going to try that out on the other side so you can get a good feel for it before we try it with the flow. So this time, your left foot's going to be the one in front, your right foot's going to step back. So we're going to start with that triangle. For that triangle, you're trying to pivot your chest and hips towards the long edge of your mat. Your arms will come up, look over your left fingers, lead forward, and then bring your hand down to your leg, a block, or the floor. Right fingertips reach up towards the ceiling, look up if you can. Again, for some of you, this might be a shorter stance. Hand on your thigh, stretch your other arm out to the side. Do what's right for your body. We're going to transition from here to that pyramid position. So from that pyramid position, you're going to begin to move towards it by lifting up, pivot towards that short edge of your mat. Your back foot is going to step out a little to the side. You might even wiggle your front foot out to the other side. Hands come to your hips. Both legs are straight as much as possible, but don't hyperextend your legs. Fold forward. Hands can stay on your hips. They can come down to blocks and come all the way down to the floor, whatever is working for your body. Take a couple of breaths. Notice how this feels. If your left foot is forward, you might try to pivot your right hip forward a little bit. Tuck your left hip back so that you're able to get your hips a little bit more parallel towards the front of the mat. Your next inhale, begin to rise back up and come back to standing. Shake it out. Find your starting position. Get nice and grounded. Take 3 deep cleansing breaths here. Nice long exhales. We're going to begin to do a slow round of our moon salutations. So remember, we're just exploring this. You're going to do what you can. If you can't do it, don't worry about it. Do something else or take a break. Do what works well for your body. When you're ready, inhale, lift your arms all the way up overhead. You might interlace your hands. I like to have just my pointer finger up. Whatever works for you is fine. Take a side stretch to the left. Come up to center. Side stretch to the right. Up to center. Big stretch in the middle. And then take a big step towards the middle of your mat. Point your toes to the corners. Bend your elbows, bend your knees for that goddess position. Come back up, stretch out. We're going to move towards triangle. So pivot your feet, right foot pointed towards the short edge of your mat. Left heel tucks back so your toes are pointed forward a little bit. Lead forward, hand comes down to rest on something. Exhale, bring your left hand down, pivot more towards that short edge on the right side. Step your left foot out a little bit. Find your variation of that pyramid. Remember, that might be with that big stance. Hips and shoulders towards the short edge of the mat. Fingertips might be on the floor. You might have a shorter stance, hands on your hips, just a little bit of a tip. Take one more breath here. And then begin to bring your hands all the way down to the floor. Come onto the toes of your left knee, left foot, bring your left knee down to the floor. So here we're going to find that Anjaneyasana. So again, you might have your hands on the floor, hands on your knee, or all the way overhead. This might look more like this for you. That's okay. If you're lifted up, exhale, bring your hands down to the floor on the inside of your right foot. Lift your left knee off of the floor. Pivot your foot down so that the heel is on the floor. And remember, this is where we're going to move towards that Skandasana position. You might simply bend from side to side. You might shift your weight all the way to the back of the mat, to the left, and lift up. From here, bring your hands down, shift to that same position on the right, whether it's the full half squat or it's fingers on the floor with your knees slightly bent. Bring your hands to the floor if they're not there already. Come over to the left, pivot, walk your left foot out further to the left so you can bring your right knee down to the floor. You're going to come up to Anjaneyasana on this side, which might look like this. It might look like this. Exhale, hands come down, weight shifts back. Lift your right knee off the floor, pivot back to the front. Walk your hands towards the front. Toes turn out to the corners. Slight bend in your knee. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, sink down. Goddess. Inhale, rise up. Step over to the right. Inhale, arms come up. Tip over to the right. Back to center, over to the left. Back to center. Release your hands down. Find your mountain. Take a couple of nice grounding breaths. That was one side. We'll move through this second side nice and slow, just like we did. When you're ready, inhale, arms up. Hands interlace if you can. Tip over to the right. Come up. Tip over to the left. Come up. So you bring your hands down, take that big step open so you're in the center of your mat. Toes point out. Elbows bend, knees bend, goddess. Stand back up. We're moving towards triangle on the left. So arms come out. Bring that right heel back. Turn your left toes towards the front of the mat. Lead forward. Hand comes down to your leg, a block, or the floor as you open up. As you exhale, bring your right hand down, twist towards the floor. Step your right foot to the right, left foot to the left. Hips come towards the short edge of the mat for pyramid. This could also be a shorter, lifted up pyramid. From your pyramid, release your hands down to the floor if they're not there. Come onto the toes of your right foot. Bring your right knee down to the floor. Find Anjaneyasana on this side. Shift your weight back. Hands come to the inside of your left foot. Right knee lifts up. Walk your hands to the center. Let your feet follow. So you might do Skandasana by bending gently with your hands on the floor or even a chair. You might come all the way down. Hands come to the floor, walk to the other side. Hands come back down, walk back to the other side, right side Anjaneyasana. Exhale your hands back down, lift your left knee off the floor, walk towards the center, rise up. We'll find triangle on this side. Sorry, pyramid on this side. So you'll lift up from Anjaneyasana towards your pyramid. Then open up, triangle. Couple of breaths here. Look down to the floor, slight bend in your knees, you rise up. Feet come back towards pointed toward the corners. Sink down, goddess. Inhale back up. Bring your feet back to hip width apart. Inhale, arms up. Tip over to the right. Over to the left. And back to center. Release your arms down. Take a couple of nice grounding breaths. You're going to do that series one more time if you would like a little bit faster. This might be a time when you're ready to be done. If faster does not sound good, that's also okay. So we're going to do one more round a little more quickly, and then we're going to sit down and come to our back body for a cool down. On your inhale, lift your arms overhead. Side tip to the left. Side tip to the right. Stretch up to center, big step open, toes turn towards the corners of your mat, sink down, goddess. Inhale back up, toes turn towards the right, find your triangle. Left hand comes down, left foot steps out to the side, pyramid. Left knee comes down, rise up, Anjaneyasana. Hands come down on the inside of your right foot, lift up, back of the mat, Skandasana. Front of the mat, Skandasana. Back of the mat, Anjaneyasana. Bring your right knee to the floor. Find your position. Hands come down to the floor, right knee lifts, pyramid. Open up, triangle. Inhale, rise all the way up. Feet come to the corners of your mat. Sink down, goddess. Inhale up, step to the right, tip over to the left, over to the right, back to center, arms come down, deep cleansing breath, other side. Inhale, lift up. Tip to the right, back to center, over to the left, center, open up, Toes towards the corner, goddess. Inhale, stand up. Coming to the left, triangle. Right hand comes down to your hips or the floor, space between your feet, pyramid. Hands come down to the floor, toes of your right foot, right knee comes down, lift up, Anjaneyasana. Hands come down inside of your left foot, walk to the back, right side Skandasana. Other side, left side Skandasana. Lift up, find your Anjaneyasana. Right knee in front. Hands come down to the floor. Straighten your leg. Find your pyramid. Open up triangle. Rise up. Feet towards the corners of your mat, goddess. Back up to standing. Step over to the left, tip to the right, tip to the left, back to center, exhale your arms down. Find your mountain, find your breath. When you're ready, we're going to come back down to a seat, do a couple positions to cool back down. Moon salutations are supposed to be cooling and relaxing, but they might also be very challenging, especially if you're not used to practicing them. So if that was a challenge, that's okay. I'm going to start with a nice forward fold. So legs out straight in front of you. Start nice and tall through your spine. Toes pulled back towards your face. Walk your hands forward and fold. Find that slow, deep breath. Let everything begin to slow down. Take 3 more breaths. When you're ready, walk your hands back up. Bring your fingertips back behind you. Lean back, open your chest, maybe rock a little bit from side to side. Do one more forward fold, so lift up. If you like having your legs out straight, you're welcome to do that again. Or you might bring the soles of your feet together, either close to you or farther away from your body. If your knees are really high, if you have blankets or blocks, you can place those under your knees. Start with that nice tall spine. Stay here, or if you would like to, add that fold. Take 3 more breaths. When you're ready, rise up. We're going to come to our back body for a twist in each direction, and then for our final rest. So start by lowering onto your back. And hug your knees into your chest. Rock a little bit from side to side. Release your knees. Bring your arms out to the side. Arms can be in a T for straight arms or bent elbow cactus arms, whatever you prefer. Drop your knees over to the right. If they don't reach the floor, go ahead and put a blanket, a pillow, a block, something there to give them support. If you can, keep your shoulder on the floor, so both shoulders are on the floor. You might look over your right shoulder. Take one more breath. Exhale it out. So you inhale, bring your knees back to center. Exhale them over to the left. Perhaps look over your right shoulder. Slow, deep breaths. Take one more breath. Exhale it out. Inhale back to center. Stretch your legs out long, arms overhead, full body stretch. And then find your final resting position. So traditional Shavasana with your arms a little bit away from your body, palms face up, feet a little bit wider than hip width apart, toes fall gently out to the side. If this is not comfortable, you might bend your knees, bring your feet wide, and let your knees touch, or find any other position that's comfortable. Take a moment to reconnect with your body. Notice what you explored during class today. And then allow your mind and body to take rest here in Shavasana. You're welcome to stay here as long as you'd like. If you're ready to begin to come back, you might wiggle fingers and toes, or circle wrists and ankles. A little movement back to your body. You might bend your knees if your legs are straight. Pull onto your right side body. Use your right arm as a pillow for support for your head. Take a couple of breaths as you transition back. When you're ready, press your hands into the floor to come back up to a seat. Find any comfortable position you would like. We'll take one final breath to close our practice. Inhale, lift your arms up. Palms come together. Exhale down. Thumb rests on heart. Thank you for joining us for practice today. I hope you were able to find a little bit of movement, a little bit of breath, and a little bit of peace. The light in me bows to and honors the light in you. Thank you.